After the assault on the Capitol, the media has been working hard to find out who was responsible for what. In many cases, they've followed the lead of freelance sleuths on social media. Now, though, some people who were singled out are crying foul, raising the question, is everyone fair game, whether they committed a crime or not? Adam Marley has more.
As the press and public home in on attackers' identities, they have a treasure trove of leads to work with, because as a group, the rioters just weren't that bright.
LOL to anyone who's possibly concerned about the picture of me going around. Sorry, I hate freedom.
We did break down the Nancy Pelosi's office door.
Navistar Direct Marketing fired this man shown inside the U.S. Capitol wearing his work ID badge.
And in some cases, if the attackers didn't ID themselves, other people did it for them.
Calling her mom out on Twitter with these side-by-side photos.
But the media haven't just focused on rioters who got violent or breached the Capitol. They've also turned the spotlight on protesters who may not have broken any law.
I've done nothing wrong, except I'm guilty of stupidity.
Nate Nickerson, the owner of an East Ham seafood shack, was initially misidentified as another man who wore a Civil War sweatshirt to the protest. Nickerson says he was there, but didn't engage in any violence.
I've been called a domestic terrorist, Hitler.
And in Chicago, a retired firefighter who wasn't even in D.C. was misidentified as one of the attackers. Another reminder that Twitter and Facebook are tools, but don't always tell the truth.
Well, Dan, I'm a little surprised that anybody is upset by this. I mean, I think a lot of these people, as Adam pointed out, didn't really think the consequences through. They're in open space. The media is allowed to take their pictures. If they were misidentified, gee, I'm really sorry about that, but that's what happens on social media. And, there's a guilt by association thing going on here, too. Anybody who was there, they're presumed to have been part of the mob. And, I mean, the media has done a very responsible job singling out who was responsible for what, but clearly everybody's been lumped in together. Fair game, I say.
I agree with you. I mean, I think anytime you put yourself out into a public space, whether you're going to be doing something peaceful or whether you're going to be acting up, there has to be this level of expectation that it may be caught on video and it may be used against you. Now, having said that, I think that it's important to understand that not everybody out there fully understands the ramification of, going out and being caught on video. They're so, excited about the event, whipped up about the event, that's their focus, right? Whether it's just to be out there and protest or whether it's to do more, that's their single focus. They're not thinking about what's going on around them, or they wouldn't be wearing IDs, or they wouldn't be wearing, shirts with the names of their companies on them. But, I think the media, the job is to go out there and cover whoever's doing whatever they're doing, whether it's peaceful or it's not. Yeah. And if you put yourself out there, it could be something that amplifies your message or could get you in trouble.
I think if you don't want people to know you are at a public event, then don't go to the public event. Don't blame the media for telling people or showing video or a picture that proves that you were at the event. In this particular case, I think what's even more problematic is that this particular event was about changing the results of a fair and free election. So the associations there, even if you were completely peaceful, still have some consequences, especially if you're a business owner, especially if you're in a position of power, fire, police, teacher, whatever, politician. I think the danger is when assuming everyone who was at this event was also committing some sort of unlawful act. It was a rally that turned into a riot and into a breach of the Capitol. Not everyone who went to the rally part at one end of the Washington Mall participated in the violence at the other end of the mall. And I think if the media is calling people out for doing one thing that they didn't do, that's a different issue than just saying you were there.
Yeah, shame on the jerks who are harassing Mr. Nickerson there, the seafood store owner, calling him a Nazi and stuff. That's ridiculous. I don't know him, but that's nasty and ridiculous. Shame on Nickerson, who acknowledges he's guilty of how did he put it, gross stupidity, for not only showing up at this rally, and keep in mind, there should have been no surprise about what the nature of this rally might be, setting aside the storming of the Capitol. There'd been rallies in mid-December and mid-November that were dumpster fires of far right-wing violence and sort of mob-like behavior, not like what happened last week. But you should have known better. And, then he calls up Howie Carr and is bragging and laughing about what fun it was. What goes around comes around. There's a little bit of rough justice here.
Oh, how I wish such care, such thought, such concern, such teeth gnashing would be happening for people who participated in Black Lives Matter peaceful protests. And yet they would be broad brushed with people who were doing the looting and the rioting all the time, no matter what they may say, to the point that there was that young woman who stood on the street and pointed to the white kids who were knocking in windows and said, see, this is the kind of stuff we will get accused of doing. Just saying. So, okay, go there and not be aware of the cameras and all of that. But what gets me that people have been killed, that they weren't thinking about consequences. So we are talking about very serious consequences of this mob behavior. People are dead. So there needs to be all kinds of ways to try to figure out who exactly, and be very careful about it, is responsible.
Callie, did you think that some of those protesters knew that they would be protected in a sense, the way that the Black Lives Matter people were not?
Oh, absolutely. Just the doors were opened.
Yeah.
Right now, as you know, there is a congressperson who's looking at whether or not there was some inside connection. So, yeah, no. And by the way, it was expressed to them the moment they were there. Nothing was happening. There weren't people lined in the streets with gas masks on. So why wouldn't they believe it?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.